Hi everyone and welcome back to another video. Today we're taking our newly wiped, fresh character on a journey. Going through Goblin Caves and Howling Crypts to try to find some success using my preferred setup, which is combo attack and adrenaline rush. This is an epic tale of a solo struggle as we combat players in the darkness, pushing us into corridors that we'd hoped to never be in. And we take on some mobs as I challenge myself with my spear to see if we can survive. Try to make our way to that final blue portal in Howling Crypts using very basic gear. It's going to be quite a journey. But first, to start this all off, we need something. And a good way to get something as a solo player is to start in Goblin Caves. So this is where we start, and this is literally the first 30 seconds of my playthrough. And we find a pretty nice mace that's going to get us started on our dual wield setup. At this moment we don't have dual wield, but adrenaline rush mace still absolutely crushes people for a lot of damage. That kill right there set us on our way to get our first escape, which meant we had some gold for meds and then other items, including using some of those hand crossbows that we found and purchasing a green arming sword for I think it was 40 or 50 G. That's a pretty nice early dual sword setup if you run Slayer with some crazy damage alongside adrenaline rush. We see a sneaky little rogue hiding around the corner very early on in this game, and we make use of this hand crossbow to slow him down. Pretty sure he went invis here, so we're kind of just backing up to see what happens. Sure enough, there he is again. And now, we probably shouldn't have reloaded here because we could have just one-tapped him, which we eventually get off, but fortunately we take a little bit of damage there, and I will need that for the next fight. And that next fight isn't too far away, as a fighter is just around the corner as well. And this hand crossbow is putting in work early on, dealing just enough damage to annoy people and force them back. This guy tries to all-in me, and my adrenaline rush sent him into another dimension. So, now we feel confident enough. We found a longbow, and we're going to run Howling Crypts just so we can level up a little faster. And maybe this longbow will help us clear some mobs, giving us a little bit more XP than what you'd find in an escape from Goblin Caves. I feel like Goblin Caves takes quite a while to level up. Even when you're clearing everything, you need to really focus on Centipede and some of the other mobs. So in this one, we go right for the money and right for the mobs. Trying to get rid of these guys as fast as possible. We eventually do with our pretty weak arming sword. Find a blue ring, which is handy. I think this is our first blue. Not a great stat roll for us. But as we're looting these guys, we hear somebody close by. This could be a prime opportunity for our green longbow, which will hit pretty friggin' hard, even with the 10% damage reduction. Looks like we tagged him in the face, and that is going to hurt that poor wizard with no armor or projectile resistance. And he backs off. Still hearing footsteps kind of close, so may not have gone too far. Gives us an opportunity to finish looting some of these guys behind us. And I'm gonna bandage up just to be sure this goes well. He's coming back for more. And he's trying to sneak in a fireball. He smashes his fireball into the wall. Not very effective. And then you hear him buffing, which means he's likely going to haste invis. Trying to catch his invis, we hear him behind us. And that is one dead wizard. Poor guy. And he didn't have a whole lot. Cost us a few meds, which kind of sucks, because this is going to be a long journey. So we need to rest and then get on our way. Unfortunately, didn't get quite full HP off that rest, but it is what it is. Finishing some of our looting here. We need every penny we can get and hope that we get a decent blue portal. That's not going to happen if there's a team in front of us, which there is. Loading up our longbow, which is basically our primary damage source right now. Start throwing some arrows, but they keep smashing into the top of that chest, which is very frustrating. And I have to jump over it in order to land one, and at that point it's way too late. Because now we're being pushed by a spear, which hits under a shield. Luckily, Adrenaline Rush dealt with that one guy, but I did not realize there was a ranger in the back as well, and this could be our end. Getting through a protection bubble and a fully healed cleric is probably not possible at this HP with a ranger sitting behind him. We're gonna drag these guys, see how much they value my fuel items, and as to be expected, it's quite easy to deal with me with a simple judgment. Jumping into game number 2. This one I have higher hopes for, as I do have my preferred setup. I don't usually take this setup into Howling Crypts, as I find it a little tricky to deal with mobs. And by that I mean, you have to get close to literally everything to kill it, if you don't have a crossbow or a longbow secondary. And of course, there is none in the shop, so I stuck with the hand crossbow, and it takes a long friggin' time when you're missing past like the chin of mobs with the hand crossbow. It took like a full minute and a half to deal with one crossbow skelly. But we get on our way, we grab some buffs, and we head to the inner circle. Axeman skelly are not a good time, so I'm just going to use sprint and make sure we get this guy dealt with quickly. Grabbing Speed Shrine puts us on our way to find the maze. Puts us through the maze quite quickly. Having Speed Shrine is so nice, especially when you have a pretty fast class already. It feels pretty incredible to zoom around the map like a rogue would that's hasted up, and probably has bard buffs on top of them. The one thing that I can already see being a huge struggle is the fact that anything I can do in the fighter class right now, my action speed through Adrenaline Rush, my sprint, a bard can do that for free every, 10 seconds for their entire group. So maybe not to the extent of my action speed, but essentially I'm fighting characters with 4 or 5 buffs on them versus my 2 skills. It is a real challenge, and it's a shame, I think, because Bard has absolutely changed how everyone does solo v squads, if it's even possible. I think the only way solo v squads is possible right now, and I'll get into this a little more once you see some of the final few games, is if you're a wizard. It's literally maybe a rogue, and you might have a chance. As we make our way around the outside of the map, trying to avoid a lot of these groups of 3, I'm really hoping they'll be fighting each other and not focused on me. But of course, we've stumbled into one, and there's not much room for us to get out of here. These guys are potting up. Maybe they took some damage from those flying mobs in there. And as we turn around, we get a random wizard, another one, in this exact same room. Trying to be friendly with this guy. He is not interested, and that fireball hit us for 70% of our HP. Yeah, so that is going to very much slow us down. Destroy all our meds, and we'll still not be full HP. Not sure what that wizard was wearing, or if fireball is just that strong. That really hurt, and unfortunately for us, we're not going to get a chance to loot this guy as players are starting to creep into that room beyond. Very disappointing. All we have is this measly little 20 damage hand crossbow. It looks like a warlock. We just heard him pop Blow of Corruption. No, it wasn't Blow of Corruption, it was actually Phantomized, so this is a full melee warlock. We need to give ourselves some space because I'm fully expecting him to just push in, stand on top of us, and then basically one-shot us if he's using a solid weapon. Seems he has a team backing him up, but everyone's just kind of hiding, waiting for me. And of course, I get Blow of Corruption from around the corner, as these guys were hiding around, waiting for the solo player to push into them. Kind of an interesting strategy. One I fell for. And now we go in a route that I'm almost never in, because it's pretty much our only option. Try to lure these guys and make them take some damage. Hoping we can just land a crossbow bolt, slow them down a little bit, and they'll step onto this trap. We might get a free kill. I think these guys are also a bit lost, because they don't seem to know where I went to. I shoot a crossbow bolt and it misses underneath the guy's armpit. And now we're in for a bit of a mess. We end up rotating behind that guy. And somehow, we still don't get enough damage off to kill him. But the story's not over, because what we did is basically trap these guys into a hellscape that they didn't want to be a part of. I don't think they've ever been down there, and I know for a fact it's someplace I avoid as a solo player. Traps and stuff in here are awful. And this guy starts taking damage to the spike traps on the wall. And these guys are not ready for what's about to happen to them. And now, the other two are very much scrambling. And they find themselves in a mess of red and normal mummies, skeletons, taking pieces out of them, and eventually trapped as this guy in. And now it's just the warlock, and he also bites the bullet and dies to a mob. So, we weren't successful, but Dark and Darker was. It cleared those guys out for us, giving me a little hope in that my solo escapades are actually at least causing problems for people, if it's not being successful for myself. Spawning into this one, we finally get to use a spear, which we had to buy from the goblin merchant after 3 or 4 hours of waiting for shop changes and looking after every game. There was no spears. So this one cost 100 gold, and I think it's a 37 damage spear. Pretty brutal, but I want to try spear, and I wanted to get into Howling Crypts as fast as possible with it, see what sort of damage I can do. Find another blue set of boots on this red skelly, and we get the, what's it called, hound skull? Hound skull? I don't know how you guys, hound skull? Seriously, I have no idea how to pronounce it, but it does give you some pretty crazy projectile resistance on top of decent headshot reduction. So if you're gonna run like any piece of armor and only one piece of plate, I always prefer running that helmet over anything else. We get lucky at the top of this little spiral staircase and find a decent set of boots. And by decent, I mean fairly good boots with some true damage and additional weapon damage tacked onto them. Not horrible. It'd be nice to have some more of those items and at least make it out alive with them. But once again, we find ourselves cornered by a 3-man group hiding behind this door. I'm really surprised with how intimidating one player can be against a group of 3 players. These guys spent a lot of time slowly meandering out of that little corridor as I backed off. And then eventually, like, they're afraid, like very afraid. I wonder if it just means I need to be more aggressive and just go all in on these teams. With a spear and crossbow, I prefer them push into me, but they're kind of scared, and I think a few bolts will do that. But in reality, I'm not really doing much to them, as they can just pop a heal with their cleric, get all that damage back, whatever it was, 40 or 50 damage, and they're fine to go again. After some time, we realize there's another team throwing some arrows at them as they start to go around that corner. And I back off a little more to see how this is going to play out, hoping I can third-party a fight and get in on some action. One thing I didn't really account for is the fact that I have no way out of here. And this room down here is awful with some spiders and mummies and traps. And then as you escape through the upper level, it's not going to put me quite where I need to be for zone. Luckily the crossbow takes care of spider pots quite quickly, but I need to seriously consider a way out of here. The zone is literally on my shoulder already. It caught me really off guard, and it's not going to be a fun time trying to get out of here safely without taking any damage. Spiders at your feet in the darkness can be extremely lethal. These guys stay right on your heels, chipping away at your damage and making your movement incredibly frustrating. We aggro some mummies, and the zone is starting to push us. We need to get moving, and it looks like someone was already here and aggroed a few mobs above us. Trying to juke into him so we can get some space. He swings immediately. I must have aggroed him on the first pass. As you can juke into them and then away, and it kind of gives you a little window where they swing to open that door. And this room's been cleared, which means likely a group of 3 here somewhere close. And I think we're starting to see a few of those players. And it looks like a couple teams are actually fighting here, and this could be an awesome opportunity to surprise somebody. We hit this ranger, and I thought I killed him because the name popped in the top right-hand corner as soon as that bolt hit him. But not that lucky. Someone else got killed. We pop invis, and we got it off just in time. And I'm really caught in two minds here. I want to hit this guy in the head and rush him. Then I have to deal with a cleric and potentially another team. I kind of wait to see if there's a good opportunity. Maybe even stealing this guy's portal. But he is guarding it super, super well. And then leaving his ranger buddy behind, he just takes off. Which kind of surprised me. And the ranger's like miles away now, so we've missed our chance. And we're stuck here fighting this team that they were avoiding. So, timed that pretty poorly. We got a wizard and what looks like a fighter on our left. The wizard ice bolt, can't get close to him. So we attack the fighter using Adrenaline Rush. Missing 2 swings, we use our final swing to smash him in the ass and send him on his way to the lobby. And now we're left dealing with a wizard. And this is, yeah. Fireball damage with the burn, even not on a direct hit, was enough to do us in. And getting close to him was incredibly difficult with Ice Bolt being spammed in your face. I feel like the casting time on so much wizard stuff right now is so good, so fast. You have such a small window of opportunity, you have to basically be either bard buffed, fully sprinting, or a rogue to get close to them. And that's a tricky one in a room like that, because he can literally just kite us around in circles if he's good at being a wizard. And this guy's got some blue gear, giving him armor pen, additional magic damage, a whole bunch of stuff. So we're already seeing some pretty decently geared wizards, which isn't a good thing for my poor fighter. We spawn into another match. Let's see. A spawn I don't usually get, which is right in the center, in a room full of some of the most dangerous mini-bosses or mobs you can fight. So we head to the left, we clear out this crossbowman, give ourselves a little bit of space, in case things go poorly. My plan here, and what I've been trying to do with the spear for a while, is learn how to fight Wraith. I have not fought it yet, so we'll see how this goes. And to say that I'm not a little bit worried about this would be a lie. I fully expect to lose all my gear here, and I'm kind of debating it with myself, like, do I really want to do this? Like, is this how I want to start this match off? Like a big fight with Wraith that is likely going to leave me with no HP if I don't do this properly. I know some people say you can crouch, but when you're being pushed by other mobs, it doesn't really work. And we start off by stabbing him with the spear, but we keep forgetting. One stab, then block. And one hit from that Wraith really, really hurt. And he is coming through that door. There is no stopping him thanks to that skeleton archer. And now we're in a bit of a mess, because even if we get this Wraith where we want him so we can block, we have so many other mobs to deal with. One stab, then a block. And of course, my finger takes control and swings twice, but we get lucky, we get away with it. And once again, we swing twice, meaning it leaves us open for that Wraith follow-up. We need to be swinging once, and then blocking. But this seems to be working okay, considering we are surrounded. And this guy just loves taking out doors as he opens another one. And despite not being very good at that, we did take out Wraith, which means some decent experience and a blue item. Not the greatest items in the world, but as a solo player, I will take any blues I can get. I had a lot of people in the last video say that I shouldn't be having any problems dealing with mobs or PvE, and perhaps I should switch classes. But I would love to see people fight any of these mobs solo with fighter class without any real background information, just going in repeatedly and learning as you go. I think it'd be a struggle, and it is a struggle with the fighter class, especially when you don't have any range, damage, don't have that much mobility, especially while wielding a weapon like the spear, and you're pretty reliant on blocking, which can be fairly difficult to learn. Perhaps if you went sword and shield, maybe I could see everyone saying it being super easy, but for the most part, rogue, wizard, ranger, even cleric has way better PvE clear than a solo fighter trying to dodge mobs with fairly poor movement speed if you're not constantly using sprint. So I don't know, maybe it's just me. Maybe that Wraith kill should be a lot easier. We randomly stumble upon this group of wizards and rogues, of course, and they are terrified as they just disappear. I've never seen a group so terrified of a solo player in all my life. And we make our way into a side chamber hoping to find a portal and escape out of here as we're becoming increasingly surrounded by players. Seeing if this route's safe, we see what is, of course, another wizard or cleric group. And the story continues. Wizards, cleric, bard, or wizard, cleric, ranger, bard, cleric, ranger, bard, cleric, wizard. Those combinations of groups are literally everywhere. High speed, high mobility, high damage, with very little opportunity for a solo player to survive or counterplay. If you take one fireball, one slow, one ice bolt, you are not escaping the movement speed any of these guys have. Even with what everyone says is the most broken skill in the game being sprint. Sprint does little to nothing against some of these groups. As you can run all you want, you just can't do enough damage. So we are going to take this portal that was perfectly placed thanks to Iron Mace for us to escape with a little bit of experience and a few items. Now we do take a quick look at what's left, and I don't think I see any fighters, maybe one. But the groups are like you see here. Bard, cleric, warlock, I think that was. And there's another group fighting this group, which is a cleric, wizard, bard, I want to say. It's just, it's amazing to me. I don't see any melee classes in multiple teams. Cleric's kind of a melee class, but it's a melee support class that does a lot of spell buffing and basically just judgments. First guy it sees. Ranger, cleric, bard in this group, which is coming into third party. And I thought I saw a fighter, but I don't think it was. Pretty sure it was actually just a cleric wearing some fighter helmets. Yeah, this guy's a cleric. So not a single fighter or barbarian. And that's a little worrisome for me, considering they're kind of my classes I've been enjoying playing. Like, do I switch? Do I main cleric? Do I main bard? Like, it's crazy what the comp is right now and how hard it is to survive as a solo player. So I thank you all for coming on this journey with me. We did survive. We did escape with something. However, it was barely enough to pay for the meds. It was still a fun experience dealing with Wraith and some of the other teams we kind of messed with. So I'll continue on as a solo fighter for now, but geez, it is rough out there. Thank you all, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.